All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into AI-assisted coding.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, it should be interesting. We're going to be looking at a specific tool called Aider,
Okay.
and all of this is based on a software engineer named Ang and his experience using it. He's been documenting everything on his blog, kianmeng.org.
I love that he's sharing his journey like that. It's so helpful for other developers to see how someone's actually using these tools in the real world.
Yeah, definitely. And we're focusing on his March 15th post, specifically about these different edit formats and things called large language models or
Mhm.
LLMs.
Yeah, those LLMs, they're really the heart of it all, aren't they?
I think so, but maybe we should back up a bit for folks who might not be familiar with all this jargon.
Good point.
What exactly is Aider and how does it actually help with coding?
Well, think of it like a coding buddy who's constantly looking over your shoulder,
Okay.
but in a good way.
Haha, right.
Like this buddy is super experienced and always has suggestions on how to make your code cleaner and more efficient.
Yeah. So it's kind of like having a second pair of eyes, maybe even a more experienced programmer giving you tips.
Exactly. It suggests what are called refactorings, which can be really helpful, especially when you've been staring at your code for hours and you just can't see the forest for the trees.
I've definitely been there.
And the best part is Aang talks about having these aha moments where Ader points out things he wouldn't have noticed on his own. You know those moments where you're like, oh, wow, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, those are the best. They're like little bursts of insight that can really take your coding to the next level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes Aang's experience so relatable. He's not just talking about dry technical stuff, but about the joy of discovery and learning.
So speaking of technical stuff, Aang mentions these edit formats, specifically diff and udiff. Can you break those down for us?
Sure. So imagine you're writing a paper and you want to show a friend the changes you made.
Okay.
You could either give them the whole new paper or you could just highlight the specific parts that you added or deleted, right?
Yeah, that makes
So div is like giving them the whole new paper. It's more machine readable, like a shorthand for computers to understand the changes.
And udiff is like highlighting the changes, making it easier for us humans to understand.
Precisely.
Uh,
And Aang initially preferred UDiff because it was more readable. He liked that he didn't have to dig through a bunch of code to see what had changed.
I can see why that would be appealing, especially if you're trying to learn from the suggestions.
Yeah, you would think so, right?
Mm.
But here's where things get interesting. Aang discovered that the choice of edit format actually impacts how well these large language models, or LLMs, perform.
LLMs. Okay, so remind me again what those are.
Well, they're like the brains behind these AI tools, like Aider. They're these incredibly complex algorithms that can process and understand language, kind of like a super-powered version of the autocomplete on your phone.
So they're the ones actually suggesting the code changes.
Exactly. And what Aang found is that some LLMs work better with certain edit formats. Like they have their own preferences, which is pretty fascinating when you think about it.
So it's not just about choosing the right tool, but also about using it in the right way to get the best results.
It's a great point. It's like anything else, you have to understand the nuances and how things work together to really unlock the full potential.
And that's where Ang's experimentation comes in, right? He starts testing out different LLMs and edit formats to see how they perform.
Exactly. And he finds that when it comes to Python, this specific LLM, called Claude 3.5 Sonnet 2020 1022, performs really well with the diff format. Like over 90% of the time, it's spot on with its suggestions.
90%. Wow, that's impressive. But I'm guessing that's not the whole story.
You're right. For more complex coding tasks, Aang needed to use a different LLM one that's even more powerful, but of course comes at a higher cost.
So there's a trade-off. The better the tool, the more it's going to cost you. So are we talking like thousands of dollars here?
Well, not thousands, but Aang does mention it costs over $36 to use.
Okay, so maybe not breaking the banks, but still a decent chunk of change, especially if you're just messing around with code in your free time.
Right. And that's where Aang's journey takes an interesting turn. He starts exploring free LLM options, like one called Gemini, which might not be as powerful, but can still be helpful for learning and experimenting.
That makes sense. Not everyone can afford to shell out big bucks just to try out new coding tools.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes Aang's story so valuable. He's showing us that you don't need to have a huge budget to benefit from AI assistance in your coding journey. It's all about exploring the options and finding what works best for you.
And that's something we'll dive into even more after a quick break.
It really makes you wonder, is this the future of coding?
Yeah, like could we all have AI assistants helping us write better code?
It's like having a mentor constantly looking over your shoulder, giving you that extra edge.
But it also makes you think about some of the downsides too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, What if everyone starts using these AI assistants and we all end up writing code that looks the same because that's what the AI thinks is best?
Right, like we wouldn't want to lose all the creativity and personal style that makes coding so unique.
Exactly. And what about the cost of these different LLMs?
Oh, right, we were talking about that one Aang was using that costs over $36.
Yeah. What if only developers with a lot of money can afford the really good AI assistants?
It'd be kind of like a pay-to-win situation, right?
Exactly. Where the people who can afford the best tools have a huge advantage over everyone else.
It's like the digital divide, but for coding.
And that's why I think it's so cool that Aang is also exploring those free LLM options like Gemini.
Yeah, it shows that you don't need to spend a fortune to get started with AI-assisted coding.
And hopefully those free tools will just keep getting better and better.
So it seems like there's a lot to consider here,
Definitely. There's a lot of potential, but also some potential pitfalls too.
like the cost and the possibility of bias and even the impact on coding diversity.
It's all about finding that right balance, embracing the benefits of AI while also staying true to the human element of coding.
Now, Aang also brought up something I found really interesting. He wondered if AI could actually influence the development of programming languages themselves.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember that. What if we start seeing new languages that are specifically designed to be more AI friendly?
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
Like programming languages are the foundation of everything we do in software. If AI starts influencing their design, that could have a massive impact on the whole industry.
Right now, we write code for computers to understand.
Exactly. But what if we start writing code that's more for both humans and AI to understand?
It could lead to some super powerful and efficient code.
But it could also make things more complex for human programmers.
And then there's the question of what skills future software engineers will need to have. Will they need to become more like AI whisperers?
It definitely seems like the future of coding is going to be a fascinating mix of human and artificial intelligence.
He's pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
It's exciting and a little bit scary at the same time.
I know, right? It makes you wonder what other surprises Aang has in store for us as he continues his AI coding journey. So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into AI-assisted coding with Aang and his journey with Aider.
Yeah, it's been pretty eye-opening to see how these tools are already changing the game.
But I keep thinking about what this all means for people who are just getting started with coding. You know, maybe they're just learning or they just want to do it for fun.
That's a really good point. It's easy to get caught up in all the technical stuff and forget that coding can be really intimidating for beginners.
Yeah, we don't want to scare people away. We want everyone to feel like they can learn to code if they want to.
Exactly. And that's where tools like Aider can be so helpful. They can make coding more accessible and less overwhelming for newcomers.
It's like having a built-in tutor to guide you along the way.
And it can also help experienced programmers like Aang, by catching mistakes and suggesting improvements that they might have missed.
It's like having a second pair of eyes constantly scanning your code.
Exactly. And I think that's something that's really important to remember. AI tools like Aider are meant to be helpful, not to replace human programmers.
Right. They're meant to augment our abilities, not to take over completely.
And it's up to us to use them responsibly and ethically.
Now, speaking of ethics, we talked earlier about the potential for bias in these AI tools.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely something we need to be aware of. If the data that these tools are trained on is biased, then the suggestions they make might be biased too.
And that could have some real-world consequences.
Absolutely. So it's crucial that we're mindful of the data that's being used to train these AI models and that we're constantly evaluating them for bias.
So what's the takeaway here for our listeners?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to be curious and open-minded about AI-assisted coding.
Yeah, don't be afraid to experiment and see how these tools can work for you.
But also remember to think critically about the suggestions they make and don't just blindly accept everything they say.
And always keep in mind the human element of coding. The creativity, the problem-solving skills, the ability to think outside the box.
Those are the things that make us unique as programmers, and those are the things that AI can't replicate.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI-assisted coding.
It's been a great discussion, and I hope it's given you some things to think about.
Until next time, happy coding, everyone.